Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, mums and dads and everybody else. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Welcome to our special Far North Queensland Q&A session. And before I welcome the Premier, I just want to say that this is the first ever. So if you're participating like us, you're creating a little bit of history, which is terrific. We are also going to be joined by Craig Crawford a little later, the member for Barron River. Before I get to the Premier, I just want to let you know that this is a Q&A opportunity, so please feel free to put your comments in the column and we will get to as many of you as we can. And having said that, Premier, I just want to say what an absolute pleasure it is to have you here in Cairns today and for the last couple of days.
Thanks, Michael. It's indeed been a pleasure. We've had the whole Cabinet up here in the Far North and we had our Cabinet meeting. We discussed a lot of issues, but of course, I think today's great announcement about the Cairns University Hospital, extra funding to make sure that we expand the emergency department, but also it's an opportunity for young people to actually train here as well and live here. And it really puts Cairns on the map in terms of the amount of people that it services, right up to the Torres Strait and the Cape. And you know, it's about time it happened, and I'm really pleased that it's going to happen in the business case as well.
Terrific. And part of today's announcement obviously was ensuring that we get that business case. People need to understand there are certain processes, but it was a terrific announcement. But it was in addition to other announcements that we'd seen made by ministers throughout the last couple of days, and that involves obviously the $176 million being spent at the Cairns Convention Centre, and we had a meeting about that. We've had the Treasurer talking about a wide range of investments that's been happening, Premier, not just across the state, but also up here from a tourism perspective and for small businesses too. So,
and the roundtable we had today as well, the tourism roundtable was excellent. It was about 25 people who attended that, and gee, so many different experiences that I didn't even know existed here. So if you haven't been up here to Cairns in the Far North, it's a great opportunity to come out and show your support for local businesses. Our small business grants have helped a lot. Over $200 million has gone out, $10,000 to small businesses to help them get back on their feet during this COVID recovery time.
That's right. And today's forum was really, it was quite amazing. But before we do, Premier?
Yes, I think Craig Crawford is going to be joining us shortly, but here's a few words from Cynthia Liu.
It is fantastic to have the Premier and Cabinet in Cairns this week to talk about our region's economic recovery as we recover from COVID-19. In the Cook Electorate, for instance, we've seen huge investments go into the areas of health, education and small businesses. I've worked across all different sectors to make sure that they are supported while we move through this global pandemic. The Queensland Government is investing critical funds into communities right across the Cook Electorate in the areas of health, education and small businesses. For instance, $9.7 million into the infrastructure development and refurbishment of schools right across the Cook Electorate, and I'm proud to say that Pompero State School is one of the schools that will benefit from these funds. Building of a brand new primary healthcare centre in Mare Island in the Torres Strait is another example of how this government is working towards supporting communities and keeping local jobs. $2.8 million for the ambulance station on Thursday Island, as well as $46 million for the redevelopment of Thursday Island Hospital. Small businesses are the backbone of our community. I am proud to say that 182 small businesses benefited from the $100 million investment as part of the Queensland Government Economic Recovery Plan. We are getting through this together and on the same page. We have a common goal, and that common goal is to get through this global pandemic as best as we can.
It's great to be back with you, and we have the Premier of the great state of Queensland. And Premier, we're ready for our first question, and our question is from Nikki, who is a small business owner in the tourism and activity sector. And her question is, once domestic tourism restarts, aviation connectivity will be so important for our region. Can you provide some insight into the planning and opportunities your government is working on in this space, please?
Yeah, thanks, Michael, and thanks, Nikki, for that really important question. We know how important aviation is, especially for tourism here in Cairns and the tropical Far North. It's pleasing to see that I think Qantas just recently named Brisbane to Cairns is now the most popular route in Australia. So there's some good news there, and it was great too on the boardwalk today, the Esplanade. Yesterday we ran into a couple from the Gold Coast. I ran into another couple from Dalby. And also too, I've actually met some people from around the region that are coming in and actually spending some time in Cairns as well. I think from memory there's a new Gold Coast to Cairns airline route that's going to be opened up as well. So we know that we need to be ready for the future. We will always back the aviation industry, but also too, our aviation industry is also still continuing to export our very good produce to the rest of the world as well. So that's worth lots of millions of dollars to this great state as well.
Terrific. And also in addition to that, the $15 million, Premier, that has been outlaid there. So we're ensuring new destinations are getting access, and particularly here into Cairns. And I just want to remind everybody, I've spent a lot of time in the tourism sector working up here. Our busiest year was around about 2.8 million people. 87% of those people arrived by aircraft. So we're acutely aware, Premier, as you know, that we are well and truly aware of the importance of the airport, and we have provided funding in the past, and no doubt that's something we'll be looking at, as you indicated today, Premier. Premier, our next question is from Eve. And Eve, this is a good question. Well, not to say that Nikki's wasn't a good question. This one's a little different. What are some of the must-see places in Far North Queensland?
Oh, where do you begin? There's so many places. I wish I had some time to do that, but unfortunately COVID doesn't allow me to do that. But from like previous experiences up here, I think, number one would have to be to go out to the reef and experience the reef. And I know our reef operators would love to see more Queenslanders out there bringing their families. And if you haven't seen the Great Barrier Reef, it's a great opportunity to come and do that. Of course, the Sky Rail commences again this weekend.
That's right,
we talked to Ken Chapman today.
Terrific.
And what's really good about the Sky Rail is that it takes you up to Kuranda, and there's a lot of businesses up there that are doing it tough at the moment, and hopefully the restarting of Sky Rail will help the tourism industry there. And of course, travelling up from Cairns up to Port Douglas, where the reef meets the rainforest, but you can't go past the tablelands as well. There's so much to see and do right around this area, even just walking in the mornings or the evenings along the Esplanade. What about you, Michael?
Premier, I agree.
You live in paradise.
I do. It is absolutely spectacular. I think the reef, without any doubt. But the good thing about that also is there is a lot of diversity. You can go in the smaller sailing boats, you can go with the large. A lot of the operators are up and running. There have obviously been impacts, but they are running, very COVID safe. You've got, as the Premier said, Kuranda, but we've also got the Daintree, the oldest rainforest in the world, and a wide range of businesses still operating up there. So, Eve, you're more than welcome. As you can see, the Premier and I, we're very keen to advocate for our region up here.
Thanks, Michael. And of course, we're very much focused on our strong plan for economic recovery. That's why I brought the Cabinet up here. That's why we're focused on jobs, making sure we've got the infrastructure. We'll be turning the sod on the Cairns Convention Centre tomorrow, $176 million. We've got $1 billion worth of infrastructure and roads, small business grants. But number one for me is looking after our people. There is so much that we can do up here, manufacturing, buying local. It's what Queensland's are good at, and we've got to support one another, especially during this time. So I'm going to hand over to see an economic package. Cairns is definitely good to go. We listen and we respond, and to make sure we're putting money into that infrastructure to kickstart the economy and get those local jobs happening.
The Premier's announcement today of an $11.3 million package provides the kind of injection that we need to diversify and attract domestic visitors. The industry is incredibly grateful for the support of the Palaszczuk government.
The Smithfield bypass is one of the biggest jobs probably in the district, been for a long time, and it has made a lot of employment for people, and I think a lot of people are very happy to see it happening. 70 to 80% of local employment through this job.
Projects like this don't come around too often, and when they do, we embrace them. It's been great for us.
We are definitely going to be working with James Cook University to expand this hospital to grow this hospital and to make this hospital a Cairns University hospital.
We will be in a position to attract world-class clinical talent to Cairns.
We know how crucial it is to have people living and staying in the region. Well, thanks, Michael. And now I'm joined with our member for Barron River, Craig Crawford. Craig, it's wonderful for you to join us tonight. And Barron River is also a very important part of our state, and it was wonderful to have the Cabinet actually meet in Barron River at the James Cook University. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Well, Premier, I'm not sure, but I think this might be the first time ever that Cabinet has actually met in the seat of Barron River. I'd have to check the history, but that aside, to bring all of the Cabinet into JCU, into that such an impressive building, that new building out there, the Ideas Hub. All the Directors General, it was quite moving. Like, as a local member, it doesn't get any better than that.
And also the linkage between James Cook University now and the Cairns Hospital. I mean, that's really going to set this up for the future in terms of people getting trained here, and also the clinicians that will be needed for our hospital with the expansion.
I was talking to some students a couple of hours ago from Smithfield High School, and I was explaining to them that when they leave school, they're about year 9, I think, at this point. I said to them, by the time you actually graduate, it may be a reality that you can actually go to JCU, study medicine, do it here in Cairns, no need to move away from home.
That's right.
Like, it's such it's amazing opportunities there now.
And a lot of investment in schools as well. You were saying to me, like, nearly all of your high schools have some infrastructure happening at them.
So Grace and I were trying to put the numbers together before, but we were losing count. But there are 4 large-scale construction sites underway right now in Barron River at my schools, and principals are just blown away at the moment.
That's wonderful.
So Premier, we might go to some questions, because I see we've got one up already. So a question from Agatina, and her question is, why can't we have more than 30 people at a home gathering where everyone is sitting outside in the open air?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question, and of course we're in a different world at the moment because we're dealing with the global pandemic. So we have to take our advice from the Chief Health Officer, and what the Chief Health Officer advised us is that a lot of COVID was actually spread in Victoria because a lot of large family gatherings and people coming over to homes and having parties. And that's why up here in regional Queensland, we've had to put those restrictions back down to 30. I know it's tough on families at the moment, but we have to listen to the health advice. And I always listen to the health advice because my priority is to keep Queenslanders safe. So thank you, everyone, for doing the right thing.
So we might go to the next question, if you like, and this is a great one for me. So this is from Mark. Mark's obviously one of the many motorists that drives in and out from the beaches, and his question is, when will the Smithfield bypass be finished?
Well, Craig, I think you answered that. You told me that answer yesterday. It was end of next year, isn't it?
End of next year.
And look, it was great to be out there and to see all the workers on site. It's a huge investment. I think more than $160 million. And to see the bridges that are being put together, it is going to really save people travel time, and the construction's excellent. So lots of workers on site as well.
Lots of workers on site, and they told us yesterday 2 weeks ahead of schedule.
Great.
Which is fantastic for a job that size. And when you think about, in Victoria, they would be down to 25% of the construction workforce. So they are running full workforce. So
well, not only that, people overseas, like construction has completely shut down because of COVID. It's great to see our construction is powering ahead here in Queensland, and the Smithfield bypass is a vital piece of infrastructure.
So on the next question, and I can't dance, so I'm going to put that out there right now. But this is from Debbie, and she said, why can't we dance in our clubs and pubs?
Oh, this is a tough one, I know. It's hard for the young people at the moment. I think it's hard for everyone. But look, just in terms of that, what the evidence is that overseas, COVID was spread quite rapidly at nightclubs. It's a enclosed space with people dancing and the interactions, it was not safe. So we've had to listen again to the Chief Health Officer, who told us that you know, we can have COVID safe plans in place, but unfortunately at the moment that doesn't involve dancing. I'm really sorry about that.
I'm okay because like
I don't think we want to see either of you guys dancing anyway.
No, I even struggled at my wedding. Yeah.
All right, well, can I just thank you, Craig, and it was wonderful to have Michael here as well. And thank you for joining us for this first Facebook Q&A from Far North Queensland. We're going to be doing a lot more around the state, and you'll have the opportunity to interact with us. And thank you for your questions, and I hope you all have a very good night. Thank you.